So science and all that is good, but there's a limitation to it. There are things that are unseen that Allah can reveal it to you. You believe in the books of God. This is important because we live in a time today where people may believe in Allah or what they call God, but they don't believe in books and prophets. And people telling you, often I have conversations with people, on aeroplanes and stuff, and tell you, okay, I believe in God, but I don't believe in religions. Yeah, have you heard that? People tell you, I believe in God. I do believe there is a great power, whatever the world controls, but I don't believe in organized religion. I don't believe in religions. So what we are basically saying is that they believe in uluhiyya or ilah. They believe in the Lord, but they don't believe in nubuwwah. They don't believe in nubuwwah. They don't believe in prophethood. Now I speak to people like that. I said, so you believe there is a God, right? Yeah. So do you believe that God spoke to mankind or not? I'm not sure, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, Because if you believe God is there and he's eternal, but he has never spoke to man, then what's the point? That's not a merciful God then. So you say, well, maybe he did speak to God. Or in fact, before we go to did he speak to God, did he speak to mankind, do you believe he can speak to us? Before saying did he speak to mankind, first tell me, you believe in God, right? Yes. Do you believe he can speak to us? Well, I guess he can. I'm sure. If he's God, he could be able to speak to us, Okay, so he can, right? Otherwise he wouldn't be God. If you say, no, he can't speak to us, then you're talking about a limited creature who can't even communicate with anybody. That's not a God then, So they'll tell you, yes, I'm sure he can speak to us if he wants to. Okay, now the next question. Has he spoken to anybody? And we're like, well, not to me, he hasn't spoken to me, Okay, fine. Me too, I'll agree with you, guy, man, I'll go with you on that one, He hasn't spoken to me either, in a direct way, But you do believe he can speak to people. Well, yeah, I guess he can, right? He's God. Has he spoken to somebody? Okay, maybe he didn't speak to me and you, but has there been human beings who God spoke to? I'm not sure. Okay, let's look at it differently. Has there been human beings who said that God spoke to them? Have there been? Yes. A guy will be like, yes, they have been, right? Jesus used to say, God spoke to me. God speaks to me. The Father speaks to me. Moses, Muhammad. I said, okay, I just add Muhammad there. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes, excluding him every time. People want to talk about Buddha, Jesus, but they don't want to mention Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Part of it is our negligence also. We don't present him as a great spiritual master. We present him as some military conqueror coming to convert all of you to Islam. People speak about great spiritual masters. They don't mention Muhammad, and I get so upset. Buddha, Confucius, Jesus, Moses. Why are you not saying Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? But I blame the Muslims because we don't present him as the great spiritual master that he was. We present him more like a military conqueror, some type of a. People put him in the line of Napoleon and all these Julius Caesar. A'udhu billah, why are you putting Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with these people? He was not like them at all. He had nothing. He said, me and the dunya, I have nothing to do with this dunya. He used to write to the kings letters and say, I call you to believe in Allah and keep your kingdom for yourself. If you accept this deen, he says, keep the kingdom for yourself. I don't want your kingdom. I don't want to rule over your land. Remain king on your land. I just call you to Allah. Accept Islam. So anyways, so has God spoken to certain people? Well, there are people. Do you agree with me? I'm speaking to this brother or sister. Do you agree with me that there were personalities in our history, mankind's history, who claimed that God spoke to them? And they'll be like, yes, of course there were. Okay, were they liars? Were they lying? Jesus said God spoke to me. Muhammad said God spoke to me. Moses said God spoke. Buddha said God. Whoever it. Were they all liars? I don't know. They were great people. Didn't these people? What do you think of these people, though? Well, they were great teachers of morality. They taught a lot of good stuff, right? How can they be teachers of morality if they were liars? They can't be liars. You cannot be a great moral, spiritual master. At the same time, you're actually lying to people. So they can't be liars. So were they deluded? Were they mentally, deluded? They think God is speaking to them, but He's not. If they were mentally deluded, they couldn't come with all this wisdom that they came with, because mentally deluded people cannot come with such wisdom. You are following my argument here. It's speaking to a very specific type of person, a lot of which exists today. So, and I tell such a person, then, is there a chance, would you give them the benefit of the doubt that they were actually right? That God did actually, they were not lying, God actually spoke to them. Well, I guess maybe it's true. Maybe God did speak to Jesus. Maybe God did speak to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Well, if He spoke to, usually first they say Jesus, because their background is Christian. So I said, well, if God did speak to Jesus, maybe, perhaps, probably He did. Well, He probably also spoke to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. You have no reason to deny that, unless it's just racism or Islamophobia. So the fact is that God can speak to people, and these they were personalities. To come back to Islam now, to our discussion. The fact of the matter is that there were human beings, insans, who lived on this earth, who God selected, ijtabahum li risalatihi, to carry His message. Whether anybody believes it, they don't believe it, that's their choice. There were people Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to communicate with, and He communicated with them. وَإِنَّهُ لَحَقٌّ مِثْلَ مَا أَنَّكُمْ تَنْطِقُونَ. It is as true as your very speech. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to these people. Musa alayhi salam went to that tree. Isnadahu rabbuha bit-tur. Allah called him and said, Inni an Allah. He heard Allah say to him by that tree, that bush in Mount Sinai, Tur Sina, Inni, Ya Musa, inni an Allah, la ilaha illa ana. First, fa'budni waqim as-salata li zikri. Oh Musa. Musa heard that sound by the bush, and he was like, what is this? The light was too much. It was not the light of a fire. He said, Inni an Allah. Oh Musa, indeed I am Allah. Can't be more clearer than that. Inni an Allah. Oh Musa, indeed I am Allah. La ilaha illa ana. There is no God but me. Fa'budni. So worship me. And establish the salat to remember me. Allah spoke to him. Mukallam Allah Musa taklima. Allah says, I spoke to Moses, and He spoke to Jesus, and He spoke to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam all the time. Allah says every time. So there were people who Allah spoke to, who He chose to carry His message to the rest of mankind. Why them? Sometimes people say, yeah, but then like some of these people, they will say, yeah, but why doesn't He just speak to all of us directly? Why did God speak to Moses and Jesus and Muhammad so many centuries ago? Why doesn't God just tell me something directly? So the thing is, God, if He had to speak to everybody, why should He speak to everybody directly? He appointed teachers, and they gave His message to the rest of mankind, and they were living examples of His message for everybody else to emulate. And what guarantee do you have that He spoke to you directly that you would follow His message? You will still disobey. Not everybody is able to carry the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If everybody on earth was a prophet, who would be the doctors, the engineers, the workers, the laborers, the drivers? So there were people Allah chose to carry His message, and they carried it over to mankind, and mankind followed them. And so we believe in the Anbiya. It's very important to believe in the Anbiya. That is very important, because people today deny Nubuwwah. They may believe in God, but they don't believe in prophets. And that's a big dangerous thing. And Yawm al-Akhiri, and to believe in the last day, and Qadri Khairihi wa Sharrihi, that all good and bad happens with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is in control. So the man said, Sadaqta. So now these were two aspects, Islam and Iman. Islam and Iman. Now the man says, وَأَخْبِرْنِي عَنِ الْإِحْسَانِ. Tell me about Ihsan. Ihsan means perfection. tuhsin al-shay, to perfect it. That was Islam, that is Iman, then Ihsan. The perfection of the matter. So Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, تَعْبُدَ اللَّهَ كَأَنَّكَ تَرَاهُ فَإِنْ لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. It is to worship Allah as if you see Him, as if you are seeing Him. To worship Allah as if you see Him. To worship Allah, that is Islam. To worship is Islam. Allah, Iman. To worship Allah as if you see Him. To worship, that is Islam. Salah, Saum, Hajj, Zakah, do all the worship, the acts of worship. But worship who? Allah. That is Iman. You need to be believing in Him, Allah. But how? In what state? As if you are seeing Him. In a state of mushahada, of ma'rifah, to be seeing Him at that state. So when we just worship, that is Islam. When we worship Allah, we know who we are worshipping, that is Iman. When we worship Him as if we are seeing Him, as if we are in His presence, then that is Ihsan. So today many people worship Allah, we all worship Allah, but are we worshipping Allah knowing that He's in front of us, knowing that He's watching us, He's in front of us? That is Ihsan. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, one day he saw a man making salah in the masjid and he spat. In the salah he wanted to spit in his mouth, so he spat on the, the sand was there, so like that. So after the man's salah was finished, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stood up, he said, "Oh people," and he would never he would never correct people directly. That's embarrassing. You don't do that, He wouldn't, in public gatherings, he wouldn't do that. He would just make a public statement. He said, "Oh people, when any of you stands in salah, then his Rabb is between him and the Qibla." Not his Rabb is after the Qibla. His Rabb is between him and the Qibla. Before the Qibla, your Rabb is in front of you. Your Rabb is in front of you. So do not spit in that direction. Do not spit in that direction. When you salah, don't spit like that, because your Rabb is in front of you. So when we are making salah, are we aware the Rabb is in front of us? And for Rasulullah, Allah was not only in front of him in salah, he was wherever he was, Allah was in front of him, because أَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّ فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Allah is facing us wherever we are. So ihsan is to arrive at that state where you are facing Allah wherever you are. Why? Because Allah is facing you wherever you are anyways. One day they went with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on one of the battles, and on the way back, at time for Salatul Isha, it's dark now, night time, they can't see anything. Which way is the Qibla? They don't know. They guessed a direction and made Salatul Isha. When the Salah was finished, next morning, when the sun came out, they realized that they made Salah in the wrong direction. Because when the sun comes out, the sun always comes out from the east. So then you immediately know which way is the east. And then, so they realized they made Salah in the wrong direction last night, Isha. So now they are all concerned. Ya Rasulullah, we made Salah in the wrong direction, what do we do? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, also he doesn't know, Allah has to now on the ghaib. The ghaib must tell me. The unseen must tell me. Now I'm not making up these answers. I don't know. He said, I don't know. So then Jibrail alayhi salam came after a while. Ya Rasulullah smiled. When they saw him smiling, they said, Ya Rasulullah, share the good news. Because they know, because before that he was a little bit stressed because of what happened. But now he smiled, which means the answer came. He said, what is the answer? He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. To Allah belongs the east and the west. So wherever you turn, you shall only face Allah. Wherever you turn, you are only facing Allah. So he said to them, you don't have to repeat their salah. Although the Qibla was wrong, but the Rabb was right. The Qibla was not facing Makkah, But as long as your hearts were facing Allah, salah is valid. And that's why facing Allah is more important than facing the Qibla. Salah can be valid even if you didn't face the Qibla, but it's not valid if you didn't face Allah. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, La salata illa bi hudur al-qalb. There is no salah if your heart is not focused on Allah. So if you have not focused on Allah, salah is not really valid. Inwardly, spiritually, it's not valid. But there are occasions on which you can pray without facing the Qibla. Like in battle, when you are making jihad, you can make salah facing the enemy, back to the Qibla. Salah is valid if you're not facing the Qibla, but it's not valid if you're not facing Allah. That's why when you make salah, Rasulullah used to say, Inni wajjahtu wajhiya lilladhi fatara samawati wal ard. I turn my face towards what? Makkah? Now the ulama say you must add the niyyah that comes from the fuqaha. It's not from the hadith, the niyyah that we read. Nawaitu nusalli. People made that up, which is fine, nothing wrong with it. But what would Rasulullah say? He said, I turn my face towards the one who created the heavens and the earth. When he starts salah, Inni wajjahtu wajhiya lilladhi fatara as-samawati. I turn my face towards the one who created the heavens and the earth. Doesn't matter which direction the Qibla is. So what if the Qibla changed, right? It was to Masjid al-Aqsa, which is on the north of Madina. Then to Makkah, which is the south of Madina. Some ulama said, the Sufi actually, the Sufi ulama, the awliya, they said, the reason why the Qibla changed from north to south, and south to north, was to tell the believers that it doesn't matter which direction you face, Allah is everywhere. Whether you pray to the north, or whether you pray to the south, my brother, you are still facing Allah. The change of the Qibla, right? They used to pray to the Masjid al-Aqsa, Palestine, which is north pole. And then they turn completely backward to the south pole, which is the Kaaba is the south of Medina, completely backward. It's telling them that it doesn't matter which way, whether you face the north or the south, Allah is Allah. Allah is everywhere. So, ihsan. And وَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَى فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. And if you are not seeing him, then he is seeing you. So there are two levels of ihsan. The higher level is you to see Allah. The lower level is, if you are not in that level, then at least know that he is seeing you. Man said, Sadaqta. So, then the man said, Ya Rasulullah, sorry, when he said ihsan, the man did not say Sadaqta after that. You spoke the haqq, the truth. Oh, you are correct. He didn't say anything, he just kept quiet. When he asked, Ya Rasulullah, what is ihsan? He said, to worship Allah as if you are seeing him. And if you are not seeing him, then he is seeing you. So the man just kept quiet. Why didn't he say you are correct there? So the ulama say that was just adab with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because ihsan is the highest level of ma'rifah. So at that level, he said the man maintained adab and he didn't say anything, he just kept quiet. Because that's a maqam of jalal. So he just kept quiet. So it's a maqam of silence. And then he said, and when is the sa'ah? When is the day of qiyamah? So sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Mal mas'ulu bi'alama mina min as-sa'il. The one being questioned has no more knowledge of it than the one questioning. He said, I don't know more than you. What does that mean? No ulama say it means that just like you don't know when it is, I also don't know when it is, the qiyamah, the exact time of the day of judgment, the end of the world. Other ulama said what he meant was that you know as much as I know that I cannot reveal that. I cannot reveal that. So the ulama believe that Rasulullah actually knew the time of the day of Qiyamah, but he was not. That was from the knowledge he was not allowed to reveal. So what he was telling that man was that you know as much as I know that is knowledge that cannot be revealed. Okay. So he said, then tell me from its signs. فَأَخْبِرْنِي عَنْ أَمَارَاتِهَا. So Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said some signs. He said that a woman will give birth to her own master, to her mistress. And تَرَى تَلِدَ الْأَمَةُ رَبَّتَهَا and تَرَى الْحُفَاةَ الْعُرَاةَ الْعَالَةَ يَتَطَاوَلُونَ فِي الْبُنْيَانِ. And then you will see the barefooted, half-naked, poor herdsmen of Arabia, رِعَاءُ الشَّاء, رِعَاءُ الْإِبِلِ, camel herders of Arabia. You will see the barefooted, half-naked camel herders of Arabia. That's their origin, the original state. You will see them turn into what? You will see them competing in making buildings. And that's something literally true. That's something we've seen in our lifetimes. You will see Arabs who are camel herders walking around bare feet, competing with each other and making bigger and bigger buildings. And that's what we see in the Arabian Peninsula today. You go Riyadh and Jeddah and Dubai and Qatar and all these cities. These people, 50 years ago, they were literally, as the Prophet described them, their grandfathers, Some of them are still alive, these grandfathers. They still walk around barefoot, the camel and so on, Literally, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, Dubai was just, if you had to go to Dubai, you will first find people walking around bare feet, just wearing robes, half naked with their camels. If you had to go to Riyadh in 1950, you had to go to Dubai or Qatar or Doha or Bahrain, Kuwait, people are living like that, in tents. And today, their children and grandchildren are competing with each other and making bigger and bigger skyscrapers and buildings. And the buildings in Dubai are amazing. And so this is a sign of Qiyamah. Sign of Qiyamah. Rasulullah predicted that Arabia will turn into this modern metropolis, and it has already. The first one, that a woman will give birth to a mistress, the ulama interpreted it in two ways. One, they said that there will be a lot of slaves. And, people will marry slave women, and then their daughters, that they give birth to, they are free women. So it's like a slave will give birth to a free woman. That is something that happened when the Muslims conquered a lot of countries. There was a lot of slave women, and a lot of people married these women. And another meaning that was given was that, and that is something that may apply to our time now, because slavery and stuff doesn't apply anymore. It's finished, it's abolished, alhamdulillah. But one that may apply to our time is that it said that it means children will boss around their parents. A woman will give birth to her boss. So children will control parents. Like somebody sent me a message the other day of an old lady saying, I am the last of a generation that listened to their parents, and the first of a generation who listened to their children. I am the last, one old lady message, WhatsApp message. I am the last of a generation. I am the last of that generation that listened to its parents. The old lady is saying, I am the last of the generation that listened to their parents, and the first of the generations that listened to their children. So we are now increasingly, in some countries more, some countries less, the trend is to obey your children. Do whatever the children want. What happened to children have to follow what the parents want, So anyways, these are from the signs of Qiyamah, disobedient children. And there are other hadiths that are more explicit about it. The children will disobey their parents. Wives will disobey their husbands. Husbands will disobey their leaders. Everybody will disobey whoever they are supposed to obey. People will not listen to nobody. So anarchy and chaos, and this, what I spoke about earlier, this thing of everybody has an opinion. Everybody just wants to do whatever they want. The sense of submission, obedience, adab, respect won't be there, by and large. So when he heard that, the man got up and he left. Sayyidina Umar said, I was sitting there, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, Atadruna man is-sa'il? He said, you know who that man was? The questioner was? Allahu wa Rasulu alam. They said, Allah and His Rasul know best. He said, وَذَاكَ جِبْرِيلْ جَاءَ لِيُعَلِّمَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ. He said, that was Jibrail alayhi salam. He came to teach you your deen. He came to teach you your deen. He didn't say he came to teach me anything. I didn't learn anything here new. He came to teach you your deen. In other words, this whole episode that happened here, him asking me the question and I'm giving an answer, and he's confirming it then. He's saying, correct, correct, correct. He said, this was to teach you your deen. So here we learned that the Sahaba learned this deen directly from Jibril and Rasulullah. They learned it from Rasulullah always, but that day they learned it directly from Jibril. Jibril came to confirm it for them. And they could clearly see it's Jibril, because this man was outsider but had no sign of travel. He came from the ghaib in the gathering, and when he went out of the masjid, he disappeared in the ghaib again. When people went out, they could see him nowhere. He's gone. He came from the ghaib and he went back in the ghaib. Khalas, in the malakut. So he came to teach you your deen. So from this we learn that the deen is 3 levels. 3 levels. Islam, Iman and Ihsan. Islam is the level of the physical body. Shahada you make with your physical mouth, right? With your tongue. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Salah you make with your body. Zakah, you give it your hand. You put in your pocket, you give it your hand. Saum is your body. You stop eating and then you start eating. It's a bodily thing. Hajj is your body. You go with the Hajj. So the first level is of the deen. The deen is Islam, Iman, Ihsan. 3 levels. Islam is the level of the body. Unfortunately, in today's time, we find many people are only engaged with the deen at the level of Islam. They do the outward rituals, and Iman is very much lacking, and Ihsan and maybe not even non-existent, or very little, extremely little. The presence with Allah. The obsession is with Islam. How to pray, how to fast. And there are so many fatwas and halal and haram, and this is how you do it, Shaykh. Can this break my fast? Can that break my fast? Too much arguments and debates on how to perform salah. Where do you put your hands in salah? And the rituals. But that's the bodily aspects. And it's from your childhood. Islam, when the child is born, the first thing we recite in his ear, the azan, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammadur Rasulullah. When he comes of age, 10 years old, 11 years old, he's baligh, he starts making salah. When he's 15 and so, now he starts fasting. He's 20, 21, 22, he starts working at the job, he must start giving zakah. The moment you start earning money, you have to give zakah. And when you are practicing all these 4 properly, you are ready to go for Hajj, to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now you qualify to go for Hajj. If you're making salah, you're giving zakah, you're fasting, you go for Hajj. When you go for Hajj, you come back, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, as the day your mother gave birth to you. So you completed the circle. You go back to the baby. You are born again. It's not only a Christian concept. Born again. It's in Islam also. Kharajaka yawmi walad, you are born again. Literally born again. So that is the level of Islam, but that is just the physical level. But then there is the level of the aql, the mind. And that is Iman, to believe in these things. You have to believe. Your mind must be convinced of Allah, in His angels, in His prophets, in His books, in His last day, that everything is controlled by Allah. That's the level of your aql. And then finally is the level of your heart. Now what is the difference between Iman and Ihsan? A lot of people confuse it. I'll tell you the difference between, in fact, all 3. You can say, do you believe that there is a place called London? Yes, we believe that there is a place called London. But have you seen that place called London? If you haven't been there, I'm talking as if you haven't been there. No, you haven't. So I haven't been to London, but I believe there is a place called London. Or let me use a place I really haven't been to, Paris. London I've been, Paris. I believe there is a place called Paris. I've never been there. I have not seen Paris with my eyes. I have not experienced Paris. I haven't felt Paris. I haven't breathed Paris. But I believe. I really believe. 100% I believe there is a place called Paris. Why? Because I have met people from Paris. I've sat and talked with people who say we live in Paris, we come from Paris. So I know it's there. People I trust have told me there is a place called Paris, but I haven't seen it. Now that's the difference between Iman and Ihsan. Iman is you believe in Allah, but you have not experienced Him. You have not felt Him. You have not seen Him. Ihsan is the level where you go from believing in Allah to experiencing Allah. You actually experience Allah. And I cannot explain it to you. That is an experience. You actually experience Allah. You actually feel Allah. You actually see Allah. Mushahada. Not see in the physical sense. It's a mushahada. You see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's manifestation in everything around you. To the point that you see Allah doing things. You don't see people anymore. Not physically. Physically you're still seeing people. But you're seeing Allah doing everything. You see one doer for everything. And I cannot logically convince you of that. That is the state that you are in. Either you are in that state or you're not in that state. And to achieve that state, the Sufis call Ma'rifatullah. You have to go through the process to achieve the fath, the opening. So that is higher than Iman. And that's why they say when you reach the level of Ihsan, you don't believe in Allah anymore. One of the Sufis was just fooling around. He said, when you live Ihsan, He said, what is ihsan? He said, not to believe in Allah anymore. He said, how good is it not to believe in Allah? He said, yeah, because then you're experiencing Allah. You're not believing in Him anymore. If I'm in Paris, I'm not believing in Paris anymore. That's gone. I'm in Paris. You know, I'm not believing there is a place called Paris. I'm not sitting in Kuala Lumpur believing there is a place called Paris. No, brother, I'm sitting in Paris right now. So I'm not sitting in my home believing there is Allah. I am with Allah right now. Believing is for children. I don't believe anymore. I am living Allah. I'm experiencing Allah. I'm with Allah. Huwa ma'akum aynama kuntum. Allah said, I am with you wherever you are. Wa huwa aqrabu ilayhi min hablil warid. I am closer to you than your jugular veins. That's inside of you now. Where are your jugular veins? It's inside of you. Allah said, I'm even closer than that. To experience Allah within you and outside of you. Because you don't only experience Allah as doing everything outside of you, you also experience Allah doing everything within you. فَمَا سَمَّ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. So when Allah appears, everything else stops. فَلَمْ يَبْقَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ لَا شَيْءَ غَيْرُهُ فَمَا سَمَّ مَوْصُولٌ وَمَا سَمَّ بَائِنُ. And then only Allah remained and there was nothing else. There was no doer and there was no doing, you know. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was doing everything and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was behind it. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq said, I never saw anything except that I saw Allah behind it. Sayyidina Umar said, I never saw, it's attributed to them, but it's haqq. The meaning is haqq. And then Sayyidina Umar said, and I never saw Allah except that I never saw anything. Sayyidina Abu Bakr, they said his state was, I never saw anything except that I saw Allah behind it. Sayyidina Umar, I never saw Allah, and I never saw anything except I saw Allah in front of it. Sayyidina Usman, I never saw anything except that I saw Allah with it. And Sayyidina Ali said, I never saw anything except that I saw Allah in it. And these are all different angles of the same ihsan. Because ihsan has many mashrabs, many ways of looking at it, you know. But the point is all one. Rabi'a al-Basriya, the great woman, Sufi in Islam, Arifa billah, knower of Allah. When you have level of ihsan, you are an arif. Yes. If you have only level of iman, you are alim. Islam and iman, you are alim. But if you only have level of Islam, you are Muslim. If you have level of iman, you are alim. But if you have level of ihsan, you are arif. Arif. Rabi'a went for Hajj. They said, how did you find your Hajj? You go for Hajj a lot. She said, when I went for Hajj the first time, I saw the people, I saw the creation of Allah making tawaf of the house of Allah. Making tawaf, worshipping around the house of Allah. Say when I went to Hajj the second time, I did not see the people of Allah, the creation of Allah. I only saw the house of Allah. I only saw the Kaaba. I didn't see people anymore. I just saw the Kaaba. I was only focused on the Kaaba. She said when I went for the Hajj for the third time, I neither saw the people nor the house. I only saw Allah. I neither saw the people, nor did I see the Kaaba. I only saw Allah. What is the meaning of the name? Whether the Kaaba, I saw Allah in the Kaaba, I saw Allah in the people, I saw Allah in the talbiyah, I saw Allah in all of that. You know. So that is the highest level, which is ma'rifatullah. So we have to, if we want to perfect our deen, that's why it's called ihsan, perfection. If we want to perfect our deen, we have to pursue all three levels of the deen. We have to know our sharia, our fiqh, that is, you know, the salah. You cannot want to have ihsan, but you don't know how to perform salah. And that's something, and that's also happening in some cases with certain fake Sufi groups. You know, guys don't know how to pray, you know, but they're ihsan and they're talking about you have to learn your fiqh. That's the basis. You lay the ground for that. You know you how to pray, you fast, how to recite your Quran, your fiqh. But you don't stop at that. Otherwise you are still in kindergarten for your whole life. Many Muslims are in kindergarten their whole life. You know, they do their Hajj when they are old and they feel, mashallah, Haji, Haji, Haji. You know, but they are still stuck in that ihsan, Islam level. They have yet to come into Iman. They are maybe a little bit in Iman and ihsan is very far away. So far away that they don't even know it exists, let alone try to achieve it. And that's a problem. So we do our Islam, which is the level called Sharia. Then Iman is the level called Tariqah. Because now Tariqah is all about developing your Iman, to make you believe in Allah. Your zikrs that you make, azkar, when you have a Shaykh, you pray, you make zikr, you recite, give sadaqah, to create Iman in you. Tariqah. And then you arrive at the level which is called Ihsan, which the Sufis called it Haqiqah. Reality. Why they call it reality? Because the reality is Allah is present with us wherever we are. But we are unaware. We are unaware of it. It's our fault. But it is the reality. Haqiqah. Allah is with us wherever we are, whatever you are doing, He is with you. Haqiqah. So we have to achieve the Haqiqah. The Sharia is the starting point, and then the Tariqah takes you on the journey, and Haqiqah is where you arrive. And when you achieve that, we have Sharia, Tariqah, Haqiqah, then you have completed the Deen. Then you have the Deen completely. So we have to pursue that, and in conclusion, what I want to advise all of us is that we have to pursue each science from those who have it. You can learn Sharia from your ustads, those who have knowledge of Sharia. You can get Iman from the people who speak of Iman. There are people who give nice talks and bayans, and it increases your Iman. You make ibadah. In fact, Iman comes from ibadah, and then we seek the science of Haqiqah from the awliya Allah, the people who have that hal, the state of Iman. We get it from them. So Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, we have to pursue all three aspects of the deen, so that we can be from those people who have understood the complete deen as it is. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he used to teach his Sahaba the Sharia, the Tariqah, the Haqiqah, in of course the terms that were used at that time, Islam, Iman and Ihsan. All of that. They used to learn the rituals of Islam from him, they used to have Iman from him, and they used to imbibe the Ihsan from his company. One day they were riding on a journey and they were all shouting, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha, loud, And they started screaming. Some of them started screaming loudly. And they were all riding their camels, right? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Mahlan, he says, take it easy. For you are not calling upon someone that is far or someone that is deaf. You are not calling upon someone that is deaf nor someone that is far. Right? Somebody can't hear you either because they are deaf, or they are not deaf but they are far. You can't hear. That's why you have to shout for them, right? It says you are not calling on someone who is deaf or someone who is إنكم لا تدعون صما ولا بعيدا. You're not calling upon someone who is deaf or someone who is far. ولكن, but you are calling on someone who is near and someone who is all hearing. And by Allah, and he said, and I swear by him, إِنَّهُ لَأَقْرَبُ إِلَيْكُم مِّنْ أَعْنَاقِ مِنْ رِقَابٍ جِمَالِكُم. He said, and by Allah, Rasulullah is sitting on his camel, they're all sitting on the camels. The camel, his head is like that. He said, and by him, and I swear by him, he is nearer to you than the necks of your camels. And that is ma'rifah, that is ihsan. That is ihsan speaking. That is the hal speaking. He said, and by him, he is nearer to you than the necks of your camels. They were sitting on the camel, and that's the neck in front of them. He said, I swear by Allah, he is nearer to you than the neck of your camel. So that is ihsan, to know that nearness, to know how near he is. People believe they go to Makkah, they become nearer to Allah. You are not nearer to Allah in Makkah than you are to him in London. Oh, you are not nearer to Allah in the masjid than you are nearer to him in a club. You are not nearer to Allah in a mosque than you are in your room. Yes, you may feel his nearness in Makkah more. You may feel more near to him in the masjid than in a club. But in reality, in haqiqah, you are not nearer to him anywhere than anywhere. You are equally near to him wherever you are. There's no place he's more nearer than other. It's just how near are you to him? That is the question. How close are you to him? There are people who sit in a masjid and they are not near Allah. They are near the masjid, but they are not near Allah. They are not experiencing Allah. They are not with Allah. They are lost somewhere else. And there are people sitting in a restaurant, but they are with Allah. So we have to find that ma'rifah and that haqiqah so that we are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we perfect our deen, Islaman wa imanan wa ihsanan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the understanding and the practice. May Allah grant us the teachers who can make us understand and make us imbibe these sciences. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.